I love it.
Hey everyone, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. Should I stop saying outsider and transgressive and just say mentally ill? Should I just foreground that instead? We had a little bit of a discussion before we started about how um, probably no one who was not mentally ill has ever attended Misery Loves Company. So maybe it's just and like the transgressive label, there's a lot of people are reluctant to take on the transgressive label,
You
whereas I
should
feel
say
like people like
neurodiverse. Neurodiverse.
neurodiverse. It's a neurodiverse writers. I feel like people would like embrace that label. Like we'll have to take it under advisement here. All right, okay. Let's get started. Let's get started. First up tonight is Bizarre.
Okay, so I have a piece called BFB. Why do I have this beautiful, fuckable body? Billions of years of evolution and wars fought over thick thighs and green eyes, countless casualties for the pussy. A pair of perfect breasts with their very own fan base, the cult of cunt, object to punt, and one spurned admirer brings a gun to an autograph signing and murders her at her own show. What is the cost of being an icon, and how does a bullet weigh to a suitor lined up in the DMs? Be mine, or else. 37 unread text messages and mail in the box. But you have me on lock. Possess me, impress me. She needs clothes. You like how she looks in nice clothes, so buy her clothes. Dress me and then undress me. On, off. Watch it for the plot. Screenshot and save it. Bookmark that one tweet. Enjoy. $20,000 bonus for that one scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. Fight for the right to touch yourself, then get dubbed mid on the daily feed. Buy expensive makeup just to let you ruin it. I look so pretty with tears streaming for 4 hours on a Monday. Like and subscribe. Body, flaunt it, and they will hate you for it. Then listen to that air chat where your voice sounds so irresistible, impenetrable riz, and a body that was born to be entered and fucking loved. Body. Name it, paint it, don't explain it, but work it as if the runway is your rent. Examine me, tape measure me, arms tight, ass fat. I look so pretty posing for nobody, but even better for you. Wait, I'm supposed to run from the male gaze, but I like how the world looks through yours. Unleash my need to be leashed. Let me breathe, then make it go black. That's my girl, good girl. Turn my no's into yeses. Block all my X's, please. Please and knees so red from studying the scripture and praying for the rapture to end me. Because hot girls cannot live without epiphanies that come from seeing God in the back of your palms. Look so good on the floor. Watch me take it. Watch me taste it. Let me praise it. Pussy prophetic. Just wet it. Throat made to swallow something great. That beast. Let me feast. One big pill to shut my mind off. Download me, then unzip me. Corrupt me, then rewrite me. God has a plan for me, and it feels so good to walk his path set before me. Little Angel gets her wings by being clipped and spawned in a world more vibrant than the colors on the palette given to her by mortals. Give me your morals and watch me soar. Give me your word and watch me drool. Give me your culture and your wisdom. Cozy little prison is actually an oasis. But don't let them know that every time I bow my head for a meal, it's you who I thank. And thank God for making me the perfect size. Call it efficient, ergonomic, the right tight fit, because stretching is good for us. Chakravakasana for the soul and seed for the mind. Fate is beautiful when the Creator wants to keep you, and she's better for it. Spiritual transformation happens when we submit to something better, higher, and life with direction is called purpose. So I sit on your compass and move toward the light, blindfolded but seeing fully. That's the vision. Give permission to myself to be in the shadow of genius because sun damage makes us age. So thank you for the shade and thank you for the trade, this worthy exchange of parts rearranged. My body is a puzzle and I need you to solve it. Absolve me of my loose ends and stitch me up into patchwork, metal framework, something sturdy because this body deserves to be tested as a testament to the wheel of being women. And I accept the terms and conditions. Thank you.
Holy shit, Bizarre. Holy shit. I fucking love this poem. I love this poem like on multiple levels. But the thing that struck me first about it is this has a really incredible arc. And the arc is like similar to something that you've done with some of your other poetry. There's almost like an arc of history within the arc of this poem, which is to say, like, it starts in a really primal place. It like even though like the entire poem is about like sexuality, right? The it starts in this really primal place. It starts with war, right? Like it starts like in the like ugly, nasty state of nature. And then like you end up in by the middle of the poem, you're in the technological age. You're talking about subreddits and you're talking about all of that, right? And then by the end of the poem, you've been like raptured and you're in the presence of God. And there's this unbelievable, like beautiful arc to that. Like the progression there and the way it's presented is so fucking seamless. You don't even like notice. It's not like there are like these discrete chunks here. It's this like elegant movement over the course of the poem. I also really love like the profound sense of cognitive dissonance here, which I think is like I don't think you can write honestly about like romance or sexuality without writing about cognitive dissonance, without writing about like the perverse incentives, like in multiple senses of the term, and the ways in which like social and psychological expectations are often at odds with each other, and at odds with themselves, right? Like the way that like things like even things as basic as like personal autonomy get very messy, and like the different and like the line between exaltation and degradation gets very fussy. The final thing I want to talk about here is is what I touched on earlier, which is like the way this becomes like a religious experience, the way that like the idea of like seeking God in the other person, and it's realized here in a fascinating way, and I think a more truthful way than that's often handled in romantic work, where it's like, oh yeah, like I see God in them because they're beautiful, right? It's like, no, I see God in them because they're willing to oppress me. I see God in them because they're willing to put me under their thumb and subjugate me on some level. And it's not only that, obviously, right? Like that becomes this kind of path to like enlightenment, to this kind of religious realization. But the willingness to look at that side of divinity and that side of sexuality is, I think, really elevates this piece. And I've been going on and on about it for quite a bit, so you can tell that I really enjoyed it. But anyway, that was a fantastic piece, Bizarre. Thank you. And
Thank you.
and Josh is up next.
Hey, so I'm gonna just read chapters 15 and 16 of Auto Portrait, the novel I've been working on and reading here for a long time, and now I've read like 15,000 words about myself here, which is something. So starting with 15. I've blocked 127 users on Twitter as of March 24th, 2024. Many of the blocked accounts are advertisers. Others include Elon Musk and Roxane Gay. I think it would be funny for someone to have the middle name Ass. Josh Ass Sherman, Edouard Ass LeVay, Jesse Ass Ball. Car tail lights were made of the same material as my bicycle's reflectors during my childhood in the 90s. After some thought, I've come to the conclusion that I am, in fact, a Zionist. I'm on a lifelong losing streak for contests. The vision in my left eye is a little bit worse than my right. Drinking seems to exacerbate this. I didn't want to grow up, let alone grow old. I oscillate between complete normalcy and total degeneracy. To this day, my grandfather calls me Tree, a name I earned when it still seemed like I was going to crack the 6-foot-tall barrier. When I'm dead, I hope people will display the same generosity they did with Zelda Fitzgerald, saying that I looked much better in person than in photos. I often lose interest in creative projects before I've seen them through. My intrusive thoughts are, on occasion, racist. Zach Smith suggested I listen to Duster, and I don't regret it. Climate change upsets me, but not any more than a bad hair day or stubbing my toe. People say Canadians don't lock their doors, but I do, even if I'm just popping out to the corner store. I tried out twice for my high school's tennis team and choked both times. A glimpse of side boob makes me horny in a feral way. Inspired by John Steinbeck's Pegasus, the flying pig symbol he used on letterhead to represent himself and that appeared alongside the Latin phrase ad astra per alia porci, or to the stars on the wings of a pig, I have claimed a flying rat symbol to represent myself alongside the phrase aduentes fortuna luvat, or fortune favors the bold. I was online dating before it was socially accepted. I knew a guy who, as retaliation against a restaurant for messing up his falafel order, returned to the place overnight and threw a brick through its front window. I know because I was there. I run hot. I've been to 8 American states: New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. I consider my Aunt Lindsay to be more of a big sister than an aunt, since she's 11 years older than me, small gap considering she's my mom's sister. And we grew up in the same house with my grandparents before my mom was able to start her own promotional business and move us out the summer before I started grade 6 at Bramridge Public School. I am finally within striking distance of my childhood goal of earning 6 figures. Me and my grandmother were really close when I was young. Every day at 4 p.m., we'd have Tetley brand orange pekoe tea together in the living room. The living room doesn't exist anymore because my grandfather sold the house to a Chinese family who tore it down and put up a horrifying stucco McMansion in its place. I think I'd be more well-liked / respected on social media as a sex bot account. My pussy in bio. I took up smoking over the pandemic. Of course, I chose a public health crisis to instigate a personal one. I couldn't skateboard in high school, so I rode a BMX bike. I didn't learn any tricks. I'm pro-choice and have been known to heckle anti-abortion activists. I thought I was a pedophile, but it was just obsessive-compulsive disorder. I can't believe I'm doing this. I can. A remix I co-produced is available for download on Apple Music, Beatport, Bandcamp, and other online music retailers. Odyssey, Inside Out, Freisinger, and Sherman Mix. I played the egg shaker and programmed the drum beat. Elliot Freisinger did everything else. I collect Hot Wheels. I had a habit of throwing my tennis rackets onto the court out of frustration. Dasha Nekrasova liked one of my tweets. It was a photo collage of Michel Houellebecq with his corgi, Clement. Somewhere on YouTube, there's a video of my traditional ska band performing a show on January 6, 2007 at the Dungeon in Oshawa, Ontario, but you won't find it. I resent that my hair started turning gray so early on, before I turned 30. I'm obviously not thrilled about aging, but what really gets to me is how incongruous my gray hair is with my face, which still looks youthful. I'm at the CNE one year with my mom. I might be 10 or 11, and there's a Beanie Baby vendor, and I want the penguin, but it's either too valuable. This is before the great Beanie Baby price crash, or they don't have it in stock. So after digging around, she finds me the next best thing, a puffin, a bird I'd never heard of, which in plush form is especially penguin-like. I go home happy. In today's heightened interest rate environment, I would only qualify for a $300,000 mortgage. On public transit, I'll lambast other passengers for rude behavior, such as blocking the doors or not moving to the back of the bus. I hate Led Zeppelin. I Googled hot woman Down syndrome and wasn't impressed with the results. The day the 39-year-old professor who taught at the college I was enrolled in the journalism program's at's mom died in the long-term care facility, we rode our bikes together by the lake. It was nice. There's a narrow scar on my left eyebrow from when I was retrieving a tennis ball I'd shot over the fence at Pomona Valley Tennis Club and the gate swung back into my face. More than one woman has asked me if I have a humiliation kink. I do not. I blocked Roxane Gay on Twitter after she posted about a fellow passenger and shamed them for farting beside her on the airplane. I had replied that she wasn't being very inclusive and that perhaps the person had irritable bowel syndrome, to which she responded, "Fuck off." Right. Chapter 16. I carry a tote bag from the Strand bookstore, yet silently judge women who use those New Yorker totes. I remember I was reading One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest the time I visited the law office of one of my mom's lawyers amid her high conflict divorce with one of the two people I'll never forgive. The lawyer stepped into the waiting room and said, "Good book." Judging by how things went, I suppose the lawyer's taste in literature surpassed her legal acumen. At times, my feet smell. My attachment style is fearful avoidant. My life is messy, but my apartment is spotless. Facebook's algorithm has been serving me a lot of breastfeeding reels lately. The first time I had a Krispy Kreme donut, I ate 10. I've noticed that the people who complain the most about gentrification are generally the ones causing it. I've already forgotten the definition of turpitude. I used to surreptitiously look in my mom's bra drawer as a kid, and the breast size I think is the sexiest is the same as my mom's at the time, 36A. I asked her to confirm this. Staunch atheist or not, I'd be lying if I said I never pray. I need constant validation. People who dawdle infuriate me. I say, my body, my choice, whenever I'm making questionable decisions. I was a C-section baby. I've passed the Workplace Hazardous Material Information System, WHMIS, several times. I demand respect, then I behave in such a way as to undermine it. I considered changing my username on chess.com to Black Ambush. Black Ambush is one of the interracial porn series that I watched. The plot of each episode features a white amateur porn actress who ostensibly thinks she's about to have sex with the white cameraman/producer, only to discover that there's a black man lying in wait, usually in the bathroom from what I've seen, to ambush her. I text in Canadian press style, which means I spell out numbers under 10 and write the word installment with one L, for example. I can't recall ever texting the word installment. I'm back on my old bullshit. My worst subjects in school were math and French. My middle name was supposed to be Mitchell. Shortly after my 37th birthday, I asked my mom why, and she said, I just liked it. I pushed the point about how generic my name is without a middle name, which compromises my personal brand online, and she responded, I didn't even know about SEO then, but I still would have done the same shit. I'm vengeful. I didn't resist receiving 2 Pfizer COVID-19 vaccinations, but I didn't get around to any boosters. My main concern was that my first 2 doses came from the same pharma company. I was surprised and annoyed when it turned out that Marcia McLeod, one of the writers whom I edited when I worked for the province of Ontario's official broadcaster, didn't follow me back on Twitter. It stung especially because she filed garbage copy, including a lead that relied on the cliche come hell or high water, and I spent hours trying to make her work better, only to be slighted in such a way. In 2024, the average group chat is more interesting to me than the average novel. The only truly useful icebreakers are rooted in personal trauma, I'd argue. Tim said to me that fucking a girl on her period is like finger painting, and I couldn't have put it better myself. I've achieved a level of success that I didn't think possible, and also fumbled some of the most manageable situations. I hope you're getting to know me. I was seeing a bald girl who was a noted cellist from Iceland. She had alopecia, and after fucking her in missionary the first or second time, I noticed her drawn-on eyebrow had rubbed off on my shoulder, and that's one of the most intimate experiences I've had. My microwave wariness didn't stop me from buying a microwave from Amazon on March 30th, 2024. My virility or my virality, I couldn't say which means more to me. I mourn the loss of Wrongbar at least weekly, all these years later. A $10 cover got me into the LCD sound system after party that Pat Mahoney DJ'd on Saturday, December 12th, 2012. Nothing will top it, except maybe another party I went to at Wrongbar. The peak of my ska phase was probably when my band opened for an artist who had put music out on Tim Armstrong of Rancid's record label, Hellcat Records. From now on, I'm labeling fiction and poetry writers I don't like content creators. I've taken to calling small animals of any kind puppies, or pups for short. I'm too extra to be a movie extra. I'm aware of the noise I'm making other than when I'm talking. Similar to prayer, I'm embarrassed to admit that I've tried manifesting something before. I tried to manifest Isabella into talking to me again, not taking me back, just talking me. It didn't work. I'm not the kind of guy who has a mattress on the floor in his bedroom, nor have I ever been. I danced the robot. Zach Smith declined my request to connect on LinkedIn, so I sent him another. My inaugural in-person poetry reading was at an event celebrating writers who were recovering addicts or struggling with addiction, a detail the organizers neglected to mention when adding me to the bill, although I guess the fact that the event was called the Recovery Position should have been a clue. Because I failed French, I was forced to attend summer school the year I was in grade 7. Because the summer school in my catchment area didn't offer French, I had to take science, a subject I passed over again. I've committed my social insurance number to memory because when I worked at the Gap, it was the password I had to enter into the time clock to log my hours. I adhere to the 5-second rule. I leave the toilet seat down. And that's it.
Josh, man, this shit's awesome as usual. Man, there are so many choice little moments here. I like the falafel one and the ambiguity there. I like how carefully worded that one was.
Which
I
one?
the one about the brick through the window. Maybe it wasn't a falafel restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that the wording on that, the delicacy of the wording on that one got me. So many of these are extremely funny as usual as well, and cutting. And you managed as usual to get a few like really legitimately touching and beautiful ones in there, about like the one about the walk you took with the friend on the day that your professor's mother was dying. And it's just it I love the way like you just keep layering and layering this profile of us. It's like creating a paper mache death mask or something, like it's like you apply strip after strip until the outline of the person's identity, in this case your identity, really comes into focus. And the way, and it feels like that too, because it's like you wouldn't think that would be possible with the content here. It really is like tearing strips out of a magazine. It's like any given one of these might seem incoherent, or might seem like an aside, or might seem tangential, right? But somehow, like, the act of layering them produces something that gives you a profound image of you as a human being, and of course a very consistently funny one as well. I don't know. There are so many, a lot of really choice moments in this one, for sure. I love the way you worded the intrusive thoughts. That on occasion really helped.
Oh yeah.
Like, just to say, if you had just said sometimes my intrusive thoughts are racist, it'd be like, yeah, everyone has that experience. But the way that you use the on occasion there to like, as a sort of like dismissive emphasis, like this kind of counterintuitive kind of thing, is really effective. Like, I don't know, these are all great. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks. One person actually asked that the pedophile line needed more explanation, but one of the common kind of things with OCD is that like if you look on like Reddits and stuff for people with OCD, it's like you convince yourself because it's something you don't want to think and you know you're not supposed to think, you end up thinking, and then it's like so it's just like kind of like a classic like OCD symptom.
Yeah, no, I have had my run-ins with obsessive compulsive disorder and intrusive thoughts as well. It sucks. It sucks a lot.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like you convince yourself that you're like a pedophile or like that you're like that you want to kill people. It's like you don't have any interest in any of that, but it's like it's because you're not supposed to think it. It was actually it roots back to a thing in earlier fiction, and it's part of the challenge of this project is I don't want any overlap typically. Like I mean, there's so many
hmm.
one-liners in other fiction that, but I'm not gonna. And there's certain topics I want to have be completely honest in this, but I also want to save certain things. And one of them was my grandmother told me as a young child, she was a fundamentalist, and she said if you blaspheme the Holy Ghost, that's the unforgivable sin. That after that, like there's no getting into heaven. And so I didn't speak for like 3 days.
Oh, wow.
And it's like and it's family folklore, and they thought it was cute and funny, and I didn't trust myself to talk because I was convinced I was gonna just blaspheme the Holy Ghost, but that's for another fiction, anyways.
They thought it was cute and funny that you were profoundly traumatized.
Yes,
I mean, who among us honestly hasn't thought it was cute or funny when Josh has been profoundly traumatized? All
true.
right, thank you, man. Great
Thanks a
stuff
lot.
as usual. And after Josh is Josh's new arch nemesis.
Well, I'm just gonna step out for a smoke now. So
Okay. TBC, the floor is yours.
Hey, wait, is this like really? No, I'm sorry. I don't. Is this really a thing? Did I offend the homie? Like I'm
No, no,
not trying to.
Josh has, I mean, you may have offended
I
him a
feel
little
like
bit. Josh is
we
easy
no,
to offend.
you know what? I feel like we are blood libel enemies, and I respect that, right? But like what the fuck? Does Hector not have Achilles, right?
It's a
And
fair
does
point.
Achilles not have Hector, right? On the BDs on King David. Okay. First of all, again, Misery Tourism, all of you guys, everybody reading, shit's been fucking amazing. I love it. I love this stuff so much. I want to give one. If I ever read again, I will never give a shout out in my life. Swear, Scout's honor on my heart. But I need to. I missed out on the most pertinent person the last time, who is my boy Angelus Mo one, who I need to give a big shout out to the ill homie who is like develop my process and love the homie. If you can catch a screening of Film 01, this is not for me. This is for other people. But yeah. All right. Let's get it popping. I will the perfect yin and yang. Okay, the perfect yin and yang. I'm gonna be reading from a poetry sequence. Poem is called "Thee Is Alone," and it's from the sequence called "Thee Is Alone" that I am writing at the moment. So yeah, God bless everyone. Thank you very much, and appreciate the opportunity. All right, let's get it. The theme, theme, Thebes, there, Therian, Theurgy, Dean, Thesed, Theo, Thelo, Thu, them, Theo, Theou, Thepai, Thetan, Fear, Thebes, Theple, Thelone, Theok, Theuk, Thee, then, Thile, Theop, Theco, Theno, Theme, they, Thel, these, Thelema, Theus, Theus, Theou, Thedom, Thenoun, Theoxoc, Thelus, Thebane, Thenucle, Thegon, Theandry, Thesuc, Theat, Theus, Theas, Theus, Theus, Thesu. The sign reads the rhyme. The Redmond, Ochibond, Deripons Monide. The time scheme addicts online. The Biyoyomi Yogi clocked Starp Oint Bromide. The starboard confides. The port side projects. The Sagan, Shegen, Sternusser Sternest. The right is the ordinal. The night move connects. The Sissispio 6 Seros. All fat, these head. The prisoner's Sagari. The interior tuck. The Shi Chochi Kun, Cincture, Gaunt Hoshi Kudzuk. The make Mailfax calling. The cock Peunits. The base Catabasalined Basilicas Bints. The take Ecat epitaphs. The Rookcore Rokeless. The Majin Jind Bonjour as the Bonjouans made in. The simplest gesture. The filled flecter. The measure. The measure. The Meshem comments next turn. Is, ismus. Is, isaju. Is not, isn't, isn't. Isosceles. Isen, issue. Issue, ISIS. Is cis, ISP, ISN. Isum. Is as is ists. Istanbul. Istanbulian. Is crow. Is rope. Is nope. Isometric. Isometered. Isometered. Isuldir. Isengard. Isengard. Isabi. Isabi. Isintima. ISK. Isplex. Isdope. Isdoppel. Isestoppled. Isabella. Isavality. Is sangria. Is antimony. Is sallow. Is sallow. Is all the ii's. Is chariot. Is carriot. Is po fatco. Is go. Is you. Is who. Is it. Is isn't. Is I. Is Klein. Is two. Is brutes. Is canned. Is soldered. Is soldiered. Is Sodhue. Is Sadhue. Is Samizdat. Is Selamat. Is grand tuned. Is Hudas. Is Tamzidas. Is Telemas. Is Payan Fort. Is damned. Is Oragic. Is beaver. Is bereaveless. Is believer. Is Beliades. Is aqua. Is qualia. Is quia. is quila, is taste, is boost, is daced, is bassooned, is fragged, is fragrance, is famous, is faustooned, is it, is set, is stop, is stopper, is stopedic, is stander, is end, is yenta, is caterwall, is pemdas, is sadbap, is pelegringo, is annexed, is mekleto, is honimbu, is ronhum, is ronin, is katobankoku, is splenetic, is choleric, is lectic, is neric, is spliced, is 4-5, is cut, is fluoride, is punt, is plyset, is plate, is plead, is plod, is lopside, is icy, is play, is gone, is pronged, is pled, is pleiades, is parlay, is prep, is perp, is perturb, is turf, is turbulence, is turncoat, is tournament, is time, is might, is emit, is item, is hind, is hunch, is haunch, is hinden, is berg, is hidden, is dead, is it, is it, is it, as I said. Is thee alone? Is he a holonym? Is it a ship? Is its menoport all law of men you'd met? Is ours the garm game? Is Boward Bard's lames? Is junked and cowed if these howitzers are crazed? Is just a just joust? Is just a jest? Is switching the vowels a vow to oppress? Is this the stop pots? Is this the top watch? Is this how God morons, apologies, Montauk, that isn't part of the thing, the apology. Is those the hostiled? Is these the hostels? Is that the hesychasm cads all minds talk well? Is his some geispult? Is timer's night tulp? Is topastello one tell-off toad time tult? Is this these ending? Is this distending? Is this all of this that these this themings? Is this a seasonist? Is this what's tiniest? Is teners, tiner, toner, tuner, tanist? Is you Eumitries? Is Sue suit celibate? Is this whole's dealing a real paid disintelligence? Is my dog out there? Is Mog's account killed? Is something? Is something? Is something's out rail. Alone is the menticent. Alone thee is eloquent. Alone is the mentidem. Alone these is element. Alone is the epitome. Alone thee is epiphore. Alone is the mentigo. Alone thee is metaphora. Alone is the lapsar. All on theis compendium. Alone is the actor. Alone thee is flabellum. Alone is the components. Alone thee is imprint. Alone is the seancements. Alone thee is senate. Alone is the enola. Alone thee is enolace. Anol, elona, nalonen aloe. All alone, close case. Yeah, that's I can read another one as well if that's necessary, but otherwise.
It's up to you, man. It's up to you, man. That was a longer one, so if you're going to be a regular here, you can also hold the other one for next time if you want. It's totally up to you though if you want to read the other one.
I can read it really quick if but I don't want to keep other people from and if anybody like it's all good. Like I can just leave it on. Actually, I'll just leave it on there. I'll just leave it on there. It's all right.
Okay, cool. So, man, I love this. I love what you're doing with your poetry. And listening to this one, like setting aside the stuff I talked about last time, right? Like the deep referentiality of it and the all of the the sense of mythic meaning buried in it. This is almost your poetry is almost like a meditative exercise, which is to say that it's almost like there's a little hint of Buddhist koan or something in here, like the idea that works where like the act of straining to understand them kind of empties your brain, right? Like it's just it exists at that wonderful place that like where really meditative works exist, where like the more you reach for it, the more your brain empties out, the more your mind empties out, and the more you enter a state that's like not so much detached from the poem, but like embedded within the poem in a really fascinating way. And like you're just like you're in tune with like the rhythm of it, right? The rhythm of it kind of transcends meaning in this really fascinating way. Yeah, and I really enjoyed that about this piece in particular because this piece is so rhythmic, right? Like it has like a almost like a distinct measure to it. Um, yeah, and yet there's still all of those references in there. Like there's still all that meaning embedded in there. And the way that you like tease people with the desire to get at that, to unearth that even as like as like their brain empties of that and they like achieve something else. It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating stuff, man. Thank you so much. Also, Rudy mentioned I like Rudy's Dr. Seuss comparison as well. All right. Thank you, man. Up next is Brandon.
How's it going, everybody? So I'm going to bring just something that I threw together this morning. As you'll see as I read, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff right now, so we'll see if it resonates. Don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on the pain of 3 bad discs in your neck. Don't dwell on the cord of muscle and tendon lifting up from your jaw to your 5th rib to the point that you can actually see it. Don't dwell on the tug of a muscle in constant spasm, trying to Fibonacci sequence your neck through your left shoulder and into your chest for the last 6 months. Don't dwell on that new tingling in your left hand and forearm. Don't dwell on the fact that your deceased mother's ashes are sitting at a funeral home while you have to spend every weekend cleaning out her entire life from her apartment because the property manager says that the subsidy ran out when she passed and the security deposit will only buy you an extra week and a half. Don't dwell on the coincidence that you only get 27 days from start to finish to process her belongings when you've had 27 years to process that she was going to die one day. Those coincidences will drive you insane. Don't dwell on that extension cord in the corner. Don't dwell on the vultures that want to hover with cause of I want and can I buy that. Don't dwell on the family that helps out but only for 2 or 3 hours, or on the ones who can't even make time to pick up a plant until the last minute. They have their own lives to focus on. Don't dwell on the boxes of your own life still sitting in the other room from the renovations. Don't dwell on the bill collectors calling about those x-rays from last year. Don't dwell on how you're going to pay those medical bills. Don't dwell on those boxes actually being from when you moved in nearly 2 years ago. Don't dwell on the county burial fund for the cremation. That one actually worked out and it's taken care of. Don't dwell on how you're going to pay to have the ashes properly interred. Don't dwell on the fact that it's been 5 apartments in 10 years since the last time you properly unpacked your own life into your own living space. Don't dwell on whether the unpacked boxes in the other room are representative of your own familial trauma that you haven't fully unpacked. Don't dwell on why you can process that trauma the way that you can. You've had nothing but experience in that field, while others generally only bump into it from time to time. Don't dwell on how many pieces of handmade blankets and tablecloths and everything else you've had to throw away because of decades of cigarette smoke damage. Don't dwell on how you feel like a bad son for not being able to save more artifacts of your mother's life. She wouldn't want you to worry about something like that. Don't dwell on that balcony and how easy it would be to just step off of it. Don't dwell on the growing tension in your jaw as you type this. It's just the spasms, not a heart attack. Don't dwell on the grief counselor calling. They only want to help. Don't dwell on the fact that explaining your life story just depressed the hospice grief counselor more in 40 minutes than their entire job of having to call the surviving family members of deceased patients day in and day out. Because there's no way that she could have been ready for all of that to get explained in the span of 5 minutes. Don't dwell on the fact that you may be contributing to other people's alcoholism, but now without actually putting those drinks in their hands. Don't dwell on the new furniture your mother was buying even in her final days. She was just trying to make what time she had left easier on herself. Don't dwell on why your mother that didn't drink because of her medications had many flasks of schnapps and brandy tucked away throughout her kitchen. Don't dwell on why there were full bottles of Bailey's, wine, and even more schnapps in cabinet boxes and hidden on the backs of shelves. Don't dwell on that external hard drive that just crashed, costing you a year of downloaded files, a month of rebuilding a game folder and tweaking modifications for it that kept you sane since your mother passed away, and possibly several pieces of writing that may not have been saved on the old laptop or the cloud as a backup. Don't dwell on the ideation creeping in because every bit of spiritual awareness that you have telling you that suicide isn't an easy way out. It just locks you in to repeat the same pattern of pain until the time that you were meant to die naturally. Don't dwell on the fact that every time you hear an ambulance, you pause to ask yourself if it's coming for you when you're just on autopilot going about a subscription to life that's no longer on auto renewal. Don't dwell on wondering if everything you've been through is just an artifact of a life that you could have lived, and it's just one source of suffering after another without any end of sight, because you actually opted out when you were being bullied at age 5, and this is the only way your soul can envision. Don't dwell on if that's really why your first memories are of the inside of a pale green hospital hallway at night and staring up at the lights on the ceiling. Don't dwell on the questions that not dwelling on things draws to the surface. Don't dwell on acknowledging the ideation when you know that it's just underlying thoughts that will never be acted on. Don't dwell on what comes next. Don't dwell on the end. Don't dwell on the beginning. Don't dwell on what's in the middle. Don't dwell on it.
Jesus Christ, man. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Um, like, first of all, like, yeah, it fucking sorry, man. It fucking sucks. I'm sorry you're going through this shit. Grief is tremendously hard. Life is tremendously hard. Depression is tremendously hard. Fucking chronic physical pain is tremendously fucking hard. And I'm really sorry that you're going through all that, man. But I want to talk about this like also as a piece of literature though, because
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I really love the arc of this piece. I love the fact that it starts inside your physical body because so we like to abstract grief, right? Like like to turn grief into an abstraction and or into a feeling or into an emotion. But so much of that shit is actually felt tangibly and felt physically inside you before even before it's processed, right? And there's actually this like arc to this entire piece, this kind of like growing sense of like processing and this growing sense of like existential significance, right? Like I love the way this piece like blossoms is the wrong fucking word to use given the subject matter, right? Given that this is a piece about death and about grieving and about loss and pain. But for lack of a better word, I love the way that the piece blossoms out, right? Like you start like trapped inside one of your muscles. You start with a muscled egg, like deep inside the body, and then you move out through the body and into the life, and then you move into the petty details of the life, like the petty unpack, like not like petty in a like a derogatory sense, meaning like the little nitty gritty shit that you have to do when you're dealing with grief, like processing someone's belongings, unpacking their apartment. And then from there, you grow out into like the larger existential questions of grief. Like, what does this mean? What do I feel guilty about? What does this mean about my own life and death and the meaning of that? And to the point where like you're questioning like not only like the meaning and significance of this life lost, but the entirety of the fucking thing, right? And then I love the way it like gradually recedes again, just like it gradually kind of blossomed, and kind of fades out. It's a really well constructed piece. It's a really moving and effective piece. And I'm sorry that it's born out of so much pain, though, you know?
Yeah, it's a shitty situation. It's rough, but it is what it is, and I'm trying to turn it into something productive and make something out of it. So
Yeah, yeah,
only way to be.
yeah, man. I hear you there. I hear you there. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, B-boy,
Um,
that
oh,
that line in there, I put it in the chat that you're just on autopilot going about a subscription to life that's no longer on auto renew. Wow, that's a really, really good line. Like, goddamn, that's imagery. Well, it's just not imagery, but it's like metaphor that you feel. You know what I mean? Like that looking.
I wish I could take full credit for that, but I've heard that expression elsewhere, and it just fit in this case.
Yeah, I mean the way you use it there is really, really good. That's great.
definitely a big fucking mood situation for myself
Huge
too, and
mood.
for
Yeah.
it's that as you like creep towards or into middle age, like that sensation is it's like not only do you have to worry about like making a conscious choice that ends your life, right? But the idea that your life might just fucking end and that like it now it now takes effort to sustain life. That sucks.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Anyway, thank you, Brandon. And Rudy, don't mute your mic because you are up next.
Hey.
Put the links in the chat.
Okay. Thanks. The first one I'm going to read is about a video game from 2005 called Fear. It's an FPS that I have played for probably about 15 or 20 minutes total before I decided, fuck this shit. Yeah, this is called Fear. The same year I ripped a Bible apart, the game Fear was ripping, tearing minds asunder, people ranting and raving as the game's scary good AI scared the pants off early 2000s gamers like they were girls experimenting with new fashion in the 1910s being chastised by fathers. Daddy mentioned to the doctor in Ogdensburg my ranting and raving about conformity and God. He was probably viewing the first person camera of my life, watching me watching the shadows in the asylum's corners for enemies, clones to detain, restrain, or drain me. I met up with a guy I played football against on the OFA football team, an orderly and part of an orderly system, and the memory of his team routing our Franklin Academy Huskies ran like OJ through my mind. Run a screen, my coach had said to a friend who was starting Fear for the first time, led to a black screen, memory or drivers if memory serves. Service and pride was on the bumper sticker of this elderly native guy who must have done something big as the parents drove me home from the hospital in a fog that was Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Couldn't cut it with a knife, couldn't cut that with that old GeForce MX 400, couldn't cut it with 2 AP credits from high school. I need to stop fixating on almaing my alma mater, but I want my problems to flank me, form impromptu squads to burn down my life before anyone sees my own flamethrower, suppressive fire, while I slow down time. 2025 is the year Fear takes place. Large language models should be blooming by then, and by then I will hopefully be pushing up daisies with Hollow Earth Cthulhu. AI analyzed this poem. Google's Gemini reported that it was about my fear of technology. My fear is that AI models will never be able to read poetry well enough to ferret out meaning, to flank and destroy the last human wordsmiths. But that's just the spite talking. Lord, I psychologize. Please take this bitter vehicle, lemon-loving creator, wash me in the blood, no squib, or zen me like John Lennon. Oh no, I just had a revelation. As artificial intelligence becomes less artificial, my misanthropy will force me to hate it. And this next one here I'm going to read. This is a so if you ever heard the Madonna song "Dear Jessie," which is, I don't know, about some little girl Madonna knew or something. This is that song translated into a child soldier's war experience, I guess. So yeah, this is called the Love Parade. Today I'm 2 fists full of fingers, plus 3 more fingers and years alive. They had a birthday thing for me in the trench, and I tried to blow out all the candles. I left some because the officer blew the whistle and we had to go over. He grabbed my privates as I was climbing and stammered, "You left 8 candles lit." And 8 is where numbers get fuzzy for me. "Do better snuffing out the enemy." Then he grabbed some more privates, some who were bleeding like mine, and threw them over the trench berm. He was a big adult, an adult male retard with beast strength, a slack jaw, and everything. But he was an officer. His handlers had probably told him what to say. But yeah, I dream of dead enemy. This army has made my dreams come hella true. We were sprinting across no man's land, and women too, Brooks and Dunn. A rainbow is up above, chemtrails from the jets. The shiny brass say that rainbows psych fuck the bad guys, the enemy angels, because they remind them of something God did a long time ago. It just looks sick to me. Voss is falling for illumination. Enemy is falling for the bloody brass's plan. We reach the Jug class tank and stay in the shadow of its behind like that Sir Mix-a-Lot song. I ride on the back of it for a while. We ride over mounds of brown with small arms and big arms sticking out. When we get to the river, the tankers say, "Get the fuck off," and make the tank do a little dance to shake any riders like yours truly. There are people almost dead here, singing as they gurgle blood and water and mud. Laugh my ass off. Why? Some green shit on the riverbank looks weird, looks out of place. Clover sprouting. Green fucking new guy, all of 2 fists old, pants peeing nearby. Disgraceful. Hope this isn't how our whole day goes. Can one kid be an omen? It's 0700, I'm told. Eyes closed mandate. Bombs are a lullaby. High command leader plushies are passed around for comfort. They didn't make this war, but they make it look good. And sound good, too. Hope they rain forever. 1 hour of rain noises. The gay old man officer who likes boys under 12 is around here somewhere. The pink elephant in the room. 12 is his pecker, I believe. Fuck 12. Drink your lemonade, assholes, my commanding officer says, splashing yellow gator juice around. Some of it gets on my tongue. Oh, 800. Heavy bombing lights up the field in front of us and our faces. People were pre-laughing at all the charred bodies we're gonna see. Charbroiled. Charles and Charge. Charizard. The sun laughs at us through smog, so it's all fair. The love parade is marching. Take note, bad guys. Our unit symbol is 2 roses. They say anyway. I've never seen a rose. I'm pretending while marching, wishing for fairies and mermaids. Fairies to hedge out enemy drones, which are threatening us every time we sleep. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Mermaids would be useless, just swimming in mud. I just want to see a mermaid flopping. We could probably eat them, too. The old man officer is next to me with his truncheon, waving at a machine gun nest. He sends a squad that includes no girls ahead to smoke it out. He's smoked out at this time, reefer haze. He watches the boys get bent while I sit there gawking. The tank is like 1 fist behind us. Fucking retarded. He's doing this because he wants to watch them get snuffed. For like, pleasure. Weird pleasure. It's a weird war, a hazy, gloomy one. Hope I never bloom. I don't ever want to be old woman officer to some grunt. I try to be scared, but my scarediness is on holiday. Old man officer offers me the reefer. I'm mad, so I accept. We're all mad here. Oh, dark 30. Halted at a bridge. Full pitch black. Stay awake mandate. Mary Poppins Stay Awake song playing in reverse. When I shut my eyes, GovTunes behind the lids pry them open again. Hobbs without Calvin in a red wagon shouting, "Look out!" The enemy has control over time and is speeding it up. Some kind of flanking maneuver spins the bloody brass's strategy out of orbit like a merry-go-round that we just have to ride. Our luck is run dry, a leprechaun off the sauce. Flocks of dirty white appear everywhere, dove drones closing the watchful eyes of high command. An officer says, "We're fucked," laughing my ass off. A drone says, "Surrender," in an angelic voice. A boy who wanted to BFF me says, "Don't forget what I said." I close my eyes and God herself is scribbling out my name in a big book with a pen that sounds like violin noises when it writes. And that's it.
Man, these are fucking excellent as usual. I really enjoyed the fear poem. I I like as usual, the wordplay in this poem really got me. I love the John Lennon, "Oh no, I just had a revelation," like play there. The Zen me like John Lennon is so good. Is so good because like you're talking about, like superficially, it's like, well, he became a Buddhist and he kind of like, but you're talking about getting wasted, right? Like getting snuffed, getting
Yeah.
shot. And I love
Yeah.
the juxtaposition of that, like being zened as being executed, as being assassinated. And all of this, like the way that you cut between the game and the reality of like your mental health situation and all of these other like components, and you cut back and forth in a really, I think, elegant and effective way. I love the Turok line too, like the fog being described, like the mental haze being described as being as thick as the fog from Turok Dinosaur Hunter is. Like you'll never see fog like that in a video game again. And you
That's true.
immediately, like if you've ever played that game, like viscerally know what you're talking about. Like to have your mental vision, like to have your world constrained to such a degree, your sense of like clarity of thought constrained to the point where you literally can't see anything. You can only see the weapon in your hand, right? And
Yeah.
maybe hear some fucking monsters coming at you from the distance. So I thought that was real effective. As usual, your child soldier fiction is awesome. I love the stuff about mermaids in this one because like you kind of you do this thing, I think, in some of your child soldier fiction where you like tease us with the idea that we're going to have this like cute moment of childlike like wonder, and it becomes something else entirely. It's like, oh, she wants to see a mermaid, and then it's like we could eat the mermaid. Like it gets stripped down to this very basic and visceral kind of thing. Like to just to survival, to base fucking survival, right? And I thought that was a great moment too. So yeah, good stuff,
Right.
man.
Cool. Yeah. The arc of that one is basically just Dear Jesse, the Madonna song, where she
I,
describes mermaids and things that her child are playing with, I guess, or something like
oh, okay. I don't know that I've ever heard that song. I don't really like Madonna and can't like name many of her songs off the
that.
top of my head.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Thanks, man.
yeah, yeah, man. Thank you. Oh, Josh unmuted, and I'm not sure if he unmuted to say something or if he just let his thing become unmuted. I'm not sure if he wanted to comment on your piece. I only hear the sound of the peeper frog, so I'm going to move on. Uh, so Colton's up next.
All right. Hello.
Hey,
Uh,
Colton.
howdy. First off, I want to introduce our I don't know, Kim Vodka. We found
Hey,
out that we
Kim.
like live super close, and so we started hanging out, and I decided to fucking bring her in. So I'm gonna be reading some pieces opening. One from Eyes Impaled by Spikes, the self-published, one from Abuser, and then one from an upcoming project that I don't have a home for at the moment. But yes, so as we are doing this reading, we have an audience that we've decided to, it's like you guys, but like in book form and in plush form. So Kim, do you want to?
Oh my God.
Hold on, you're seeing all of my house now. We have 2 Winnie the Poohs and a Easter bunny rabbit and like some like weird esoteric looking cat and a buffalo.
There are water buffaloes in Memphis, Tennessee at Shelby Farms, and then the cat represents the Egyptian culture of.
That's fantastic. I love them. Anything to add to our audience, like the audience for outsider writers is so small that I will take plushies.
So yeah, they're lovely plushies, and they've got some personal anecdotes about them too. The one tiny little Winnie the Pooh is what? How old?
Oh, I got that the day I was born from my grandmother who is long passed away, but I'll be 37 this year, so that Winnie the Pooh plushie is 37, almost 37 years old.
Wow, holy shit. I don't think I have any stuffed animals from when I was a child.
That's like one of the only ones I have. And like one of its arms is like sort of is loose because you can imagine like a 2-year-old me like just holding it by the arm like that. Like, and then like it's so worn that it looks like it has a mustache right here. Like
Sorry, I was distracted by Mr. Bones behind you, William. I don't know if anybody else saw Mr.
Yeah.
Bones, but
That's actually Ellie. That's Mr. Bones' sister.
what?
You can tell because she's like a third of the size of Mr. Bones.
That's so cute. Okay, I've been talking too much. I'm gonna go ahead and read. I'm gonna get a Word doc. You already posted the link, right? You did.
I did,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the first piece this was what I started writing before I really wrote anything, and it's, I don't know, not personal, but it was just a really weird experimental thing I wanted to do. But the first poem is about this one time where, oh, what is it? Oh, it's when I read The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams. All right, so this is an excerpt from And Slime Had They for Mortar Warping. Don Gifford, author of The Farther Shore, comments on both the screens of televisions and motion pictures, noting how large cinematic motion picture images seem to hover in front of the audience. The motion picture image invites the viewer toward inclusion in a muted cubist space, whereas older television models with their distorted fisheye lens reflection recedes into its box and includes us out. The television miniaturizes to the point of denial and mockery. According to Gifford, motion pictures have shown us images that are larger than life, more real than life, and the television trivializes reality. Warping. It's late again, and I'm out at the bar talking with grad students about how people use the bottom of Parliament cigarette filters to scoop out bumps of cocaine. So I decide to stay up buzzing from God knows what. And after I leave the bar, I get home safely around 3 a.m. exactly. And I know that because from my apartment, I can hear the front loader garbage truck down the street emptying out blue industrial sized community dumpsters. It's just loud stainless steel smacking against metallic moving parts. But I'm in bed ignoring the noises outside because I'm trying to read Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie. And of course, I hear my cat making a noise in the kitchen. And I mean, it's gotten to the point where I actually have to do something about it. So I let out a sigh, finish the joint I'm smoking, find a stopping place in the play, light a cigarette, put the book down, put some socks on, and then start walking over to see what's happening. After turning on the light from my cell phone to illuminate the situation, I see my cat has spotted a cockroach that has somehow crawled into the bottom of a glass bowl that is in a cabinet below my kitchen sink. My cat opened the cabinet all on her own, by the way. And the noises I was hearing were a combination of my cat's teeth and claws scratching against the glass and her tail wagging against plastic bags and cleaning spray bottles. It looks like my cat's made a big mess, but the cockroach is now stuck and flailing about. His tiny whiskers are searching for a rough, non-glossy surface. It's a simple and demented scene. So I take the bowl out of the cabinet and set it on the ground. I watch my cat play with the cockroach running around the bowl for a second. It's trying really hard to escape my cat's paws, but my cat reaches in with her head and grabs the cockroach with her teeth, and she drops it after one bite. The cockroach loses a few legs, but the little fucker starts to run, so I have no other choice but to pick up the glass bowl and flip it upside down and put it on top of the bastard so that he won't get away. Now the cockroach is inside the glass dome, running into the sides, wondering when it will die. I have to think about how this has to go down. My cat has no words of encouragement. She's just sniffing the smoke around my face. So I finally decide to lift the dome up so my cat can have a few more bites before I use the edge of the bowl to dismember the cockroach's hard head from its tiny body. The smoke from my cigarette is now careening into my eyes. The decapitating crunch releases the cockroach's wretched soul from his tough, crusty shell. And now his body and head, along with the ash and coke-dusted filter from my Parliament cigarette, will join each other in the bag of trash in my kitchen that will be thrown into a dumpster behind my apartment, which will then be collected by a garbage truck 2 days from now and finally transported, squished, and compacted in a dirt pit or a junkyard, forgotten forever. So I put the bowl away. I walk back into my bedroom. My cat jumps into bed. I turn off my bedside lamp. I light another cigarette, and I let the sound of my cat snoring slowly drift me away to sleep. Okay, this next poem I wrote when I was doing a vintage market with my family in Alabama. This lady, she went through this whole recovery process, drug use, and there's a very popular Christian God planted me here. So, I forget it's a Corinthians lesson thing about God put you in a place for a reason, and I thought it was really inspiring when I heard it because it's just nice for me to be in Memphis and stay in Memphis, seeing so many people leave, and I don't know, being a piece of shit in Memphis too, and how it's so small, so you have to be careful. Anyways, swig of water first. All right, this is God planted me here so that I could bloom. 1 Corinthians 7:20. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. $8 coyote jawbone, azurite malachite, $55 skunk skull, rainbow herbicides, thunder fungus, European mount bull elk with a missing tag, mosaic stone longhorn hanging on a wire frame next to rosebud azaleas, moving crowd full of black 2nd Marine Division hats, former Da Nang Air Base combat controller looks at argonite and selenite stones. They both remind him of the ocean. Middle school art teacher walks up to our booth at the market show. She sells batik artwork on the side and sings in the church choir. She talks to us about her mom, and it turns out her mom passed away in January, and a couple days after, her mom got lowered into the ground. The teacher went out to the site to pray, and she noticed the flowers she put on her mom's gravestone survived for weeks after they were set due to the weather around the graveyard. So she took this picture of this one red rose on the bouquet that I'd blown over onto the grass. The petals of this one particular rose were covered in tins of tiny water droplets, and the watercolor effects brought her to tears. So the teacher shows us the zoomed in picture, and we think it looks beautiful, and we are brought to tears. And she says thank you and explains that she wants to create a new piece for a show coming up in March, and she wants us to be inspired by her mom, and we tell her she should do it. And she smiles and she says she appreciates us and tells us to be blessed, and we tell her to have a nice day. Feet in the dirt next to a giant dairy cow statue standing on a deck over flatbed trailer in the middle of a rodeo arena. Kids wearing new spurred boots laugh at the humongous pink udder veins. They don't realize the irony. They don't see the implications. I'm trying to get myself together. It's been difficult. Queen concert at the Memphis Coliseum in 1974. Dad buys a Fat Bottom Girls t-shirt at the merch table. A man accused of alleged underage sexual relations is beat to death by his neighbors. Man sent to war is shot by a barrage of artillery rounds in the drop-off zone. His blown-apart body flutters to the ground, still hanging from his parachute. After impact, there is a privacy that arrives in his passing, as the parachute drapes over and covers his hold-up carcass. Thought I was gonna burp. Driving through the back roads and seeing a wooden house completely rotted and decrepit looking, so you lean over the dash and point at the house, saying to your friend sitting in the passenger seat, "Hey, look at that shitty house. That's where you live." Kind of related, but you have to ride the Zephyr Amtrak going from Denver to Glenwood Springs. Beautiful scenery. One trip, we were passing by the Colorado River, and the conductor slowed down and told us to look out the left side of our train car. And my family went to the windows, and we saw a mountain lion eating a dying red stag. I remember watching the deer's head being ripped off to the side, swinging around, and eventually dangling over its shoulder. His antlers were jamming into open wounds and black mud. The cougar continued clawing at exposed ribs, pulling out ropey pink belly bites. The hind legs of the pinned heart were kicking into the air full of dragonflies. Faraway buzzards swooped down from the mountains that surrounded this moment. The trees nearby were all swaying. The water in a small lake alongside the scene was a patient blue, minus the bobbing of a fish or two. And hardly any clouds floated around that day, if I recall correctly. I mean, it was just an unreal visual experience. The colorful display ended as our car went into a tunnel, and man, it was an immediate cool down. Sorry, I'm rambling here. I just, that skull over there, the 14-pointer, it reminded me of that stag. 1 Corinthians 7:24. Brethren, let every man, wherein he is called, therein abide with God. Okay. Patient blue. I like that piece. That's probably one of my favorite pieces that I've written that like involves my parents. Kind of. It's, I don't know. I love my mom, and my grandmother, her mother died of breast cancer before I could really get to know her. So I always meet like versions of my grandmother through the old ladies that my mom meets, and usually they're weird and buy rocks, but like this one was cool. Anyway, this last piece, mid-century Las Vegas Hotel Tropicana ashtray, was inspired by an ashtray that my mom gave me, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. This is mid-century Las Vegas Hotel Tropicana ashtray. Pictures online taken by digital Canon power shots. Wood furniture and ugly white walls nearby saturated brightly. So far away from the warmth of nature. Like Sally Loomis, you wait for the never still. All day you think about those who died. Aren't you so lucky? It's all just transparent red dice and lab-grown experiment mice, really. Please, sir, I am begging you, let me give you this water. Please, sir, or my boss will be mad that I didn't give you water. Please, this is not a joke. Oh my God, I don't want to hurt you. Mall walkers, everything must go, closing sale, and the Great American Cookie. Let's get Annie Ann's instead. Okay, you're not like those and them. You're more H&M. Sitting by the fountain next to Santa's lap behind the sunglasses hut. What's happening? Remote control, toy helicopters, and Shadow the Hedgehog. Backpacks. Let's escalate and buy a Gengar shirt. Ripping off Ethernet wall jacks at home. Great. Now I have to return the router. That's not the AutoZone way. Do the dance like the hustle, but not. Sorry, I can't shut up. My ankle hurts like the ligament is torn or whatever. Do you want any sides? They don't have mac and cheese. I know, it's dumb. Here's a hot topic. I need my CP time. Let's hit the showers. Wouldn't it be awesome if we had long tentacles for arms? Actually, don't answer that. I don't know what possessed me. Okay. I gotta take a swig after that. Big mouthful of tentacles. Optional office training day. Free-for-all battle royale finger gun shootout. Winner receives a bonus and PTO. All the men in the office sign up. Morning of. Smoke and gunpowder fill each and every cubicle. Ted in HR hides behind the secretary front desk, reloading his Uzi hand with a pretend new clip in his pocket. From the break room, I have a clear shot. I shout my blast. Bang! Ted is shot in the hip by my fast bolt-action rifle finger gun. He tried to do bazooka hands as a last resort, but he forgot about the no bazooka hands hand rule. He said, but bazooka hands are allowed. Then a faceless voice from a far cubicle yells out, no, Ted, no fucking bazooka hands, too overpowered. Another voice that sounds like Sam from shipping says, yeah, man, bazooka hands are fucking gay. I reload and shoot Ted again, and he is voted as being dead. His body drops. I inhale his escaping soul and watch a delayed emptiness fill his arms and legs. Watching Ted bleed out, I felt only slightly disturbed, only because I was good friends with his brother. But he was also a bazooka hands bitch, and now the birds are picking at Ted's teeth. Some kids never learn. Suddenly, Sarah from accounting enters the office from the building elevator and walks into no man's land. She keeps walking to the office meeting room. Even though I shot her in the face like 10 fucking times, she is such an asshole. I even yelled out at her, Sarah, I got you. I shot you in the head multiple times. I freaking got you, Sarah. Hey, you're supposed to fall down and be dead. But she cursed at me and kept walking, something about working overtime and end of the quarter reports and I should grow up and live in the real world or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I just kept shooting at Sarah's stupid head until she left. I quietly moved along cubicle walls, rolled tactically past the snack machine and scanned the area. Through the smoke, I spot Bill from logistics. He just double tapped 2 of the new interns. They were just starting to get used to the copier. I try not to alert Bill to my presence, but I accidentally step on some packaging wrap near a trash can. He turns towards me and slowly aims his finger barrels at me. Hellcat handguns. I can't hesitate. I take aim, but as I raise my hand rifle, I hit my elbow on a nearby shelf. My arm starts to cramp up. Wrists start to cramp. Muscles tighten up and my grip is loose. Finger spasms. I'm unable to reload. Fuck. Bill fires one straight into my shoulder. Oh God, my shouting. Another quick blast clears a hole through my ankle. I hit the carpet floor hard and try to reach up at the water cooler. I can't get up. I'm bleeding bad. Mama, why did I do this? I was just a kid from a small town. I don't know nothing about fighting. I'm a lover. I love computing data. I love writing intake notes. I love sales sheets. I love a good tie. This office life ain't so bad. Now that I think about it, damn, all this violence. This world sucked me in, and I'm tired. I'm just so tired. Amidst my dying monologue, Bill comes up to me. He takes aim. He says in a low tone, "Any last words, caveman?" I lower my hand rifle, spit on the ground, and tell him, "I'll see you in hell, yuppie scum." Bill unloads both finger clips. He laughs and jests at my lifeless corpse, his mouth flinging spit with every shot. Blah, 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 blah. Ah-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga. Click, reload. Click, reload. Ah-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga. Blah, 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 blah. Slivers and spotty bits of my chest and face fly back onto Bill's button-up. A shower of bone. Yeah. Not the God button. A shower of bone and blood fills the air. I can hear Sam from shipping praying and crying nearby. As Bill is trying to reload, suddenly our boss Randy walks by the carnage. He takes a bite from his microwave pretzel. We both stare at him. He wipes his salty hand on his shirt, points a greasy finger, loaded finger at Bill, closes one eye, and calmly says, "Stand still and smile, Bill. You're going to Disney World." Free drink and meal voucher. Stay a while. Heave slots. Push for prizes. Watch your chances come to life. You can glitch out anywhere at any moment. I have primal instincts for potato soup. An IRS spam number. It's rotisserie chicken. Fuck me, I could. Oh, rotisserie chicken.
It brings out the beast in me.
The dog. An IRS spam number thinks I'm Delina. No idea why. Brand new stop signs on a busy downtown Court Avenue corner. One is wearing a polka dot tie around its pole neck. It's his first day. It's his first day on the job. All smiles. He wants to make a good first impression. Floppy diskettes remixed to fit the times. Gooey, thin, sublime. Broken up bottles fitted on top of concrete walls. Serrated, clear cut. My apologies. You're right, Derek. I'm not me when I'm off my wits. Without my Ritz, just give me my snack, my cracker with cheese. Hey, Mike, can you hear me okay? All right, so I'll just go ahead. I gotta say, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm on the board for health sciences. By the way, this is a real conversation I heard at other ones. This is like guys on the board, like UTHSC, like real ass conversation. I'm on the board for health sciences. It seems like you don't care. You're disinterested. You've not expressed any desire in the aging process. No concern for any practical applications of genetics. Your team isn't interested at all. You've shown no improvement. I mean, did you even read those aging PDFs I sent you? Well, it's obvious that nobody cares. No one listens to you, which means you're not listening to me. No, you're not. Nothing has changed. What am I supposed to do? I call it like I see it. I remember what you first said when I interviewed you for this position. You remember? People are interested in aging because they want to live forever. That was a sign. You know, that just said it all. I mean, come on, man. One quick power nap. I'm back. You've been breathing differently lately. You know that? Sharon said. It's just the weather changes out there, Karen replied, eyes still glued to her laptop. Karen continues. Damn storms and such. Shouldn't worry about me none. You should be worrying about this online bid war. Take a look at this. J.P. McGill's Aristocrat Club Casino playing cards. Sharon ashes her cigarette, gets up, throws her hands up, shouting, You and those goddamn bid wars, you're like a warlord for the junk of the earth. You know that? You're lucky we're family, or I'd put you in a crazy home. Karen flickers her eyes at the word junk. She coughs into a napkin. Sharon yells from the other room. We're hitting the pulleys today. Get your things ready to leave in a few minutes. Shuttle will be here soon. Karen hears Sharon, but keeps her eyes on the screen, the timer counting down. Karen says back, whatever. Just so you know, if this guy outbids me while we're out, I'm gonna find his address on the internet, go to his house, break in through the front door, and beat him with a chain link until he begs me to stop. And that's it.
Colton, 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 all three of these pieces you've read versions of in the past, but I
Yeah.
really like what you've done here because you've constructed like a sampler of your work. And I love it when people do this at Misery Loves Company, especially when they do what you've done, which is you've got some of your earliest work, some like middle period stuff, and then some really new stuff. And you can actually see kind of the arc of your evolution as a writer just through these three pieces. Like you can see like the themes that have always been there, right? Like even from this first piece, you can see the like the idea of like life as this fundamentally like cruel and painful struggle that's also somehow deeply playful. Like that's present in so much of your work. And it's right there in that first story you read about the cat, right? Like all the cat is doing is playing. Like to the cat, like it's trivial, right? And to the cockroach, it's just pure primal survival. And to you, it's like this profound moment of like moral clarity and decision making. And the way you have those three perspectives at once operating and visible is really wonderful, but it speaks, like I said, to these themes that are embedded in all of your work. And I love how as these pieces go, they just become richer and richer, right? As your style becomes, it's like layering on a mosaic or something, right? Like it's this sense of there's additional layers of paint. It's not as if like there's additional meaning because the first piece is already rich with meaning, but there's an additional like richness of texturing and technique here as these pieces go along, and it's really beautiful, man. Speaking of beautiful, that second piece you read, I agree with you. It's like one of the most beautiful things you've ever written, and it's one of the most like unequivocally beautiful pieces you've ever written. You often like to mix in a like intentionally some banality and ugliness with the beauty, right? Like that's kind of a hallmark of your style. And that second piece is just like pure beauty all the way through. And it's a really emotionally powerful piece. Whereas the final one is one of the most unequivocally playful pieces that you've ever read. And the finger guns thing, it killed me just as much as the first time. It's one of my favorite things that you've ever written, Colton. I love and I love like the fact that it gets more and more absurd, gets more and more rich, like you get more and more sucked into the narrative, but you never lose sight of the fact that these bunch of office workers playing a game, right? And the graphicness of the description of this guy's execution by finger gun at the end, it's so good. It's like the bits of bone and shit, like the degree, like but you know what? And it sounds corny to say, but it's such a celebration of the human imagination too, right? Like as graphic and ugly as it is, the fact that you can put your like that you can be there, like while just running around in the office doing this, that you can imagine your head exploding and the bullet going in and the bits of gray matter flowing out, like.
Like, I mean, when I was
Disgusting as it is, it's a testament to what we're capable of as a species, right?
think about it, like when you were on the playground and you were shooting at people, like I always liked shooting the kid that knew where I shot him. Like I didn't have to say out loud. Like I would like aim, bam,
Yeah.
he'd be like, oh my knee, and he would like move, and like act with it. And I was like, yes, now I can come by and like put my gun in your face and see the trauma in your eyes and like you think about your family. The last like fucking sells it. Like that's what I don't know.
Yeah. No, you want that. Because that's what's the fucking point otherwise? Like if you're not there in the moment, if you're not like fully bought into this fantasy, what the fuck are you doing? Right?
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Colton. And don't mute your mic because Kim is up next. Hey, Kim.
Hi, I'm so glad to finally be formally attending these. I've actually eavesdropped on a few in the past. None of you knew I was there, but I was there. And when I think of Misery Loves Company, I think of Lizzie, who I knew, and I maybe am dedicating my reading tonight to her memory because she was just a sweetheart, and um, yeah, I know that you all loved her a lot.
Mhm.
Can you believe it's almost been 2 fucking years? I can't. It's anyway. Sorry.
No, no, I was just showing Colton like the flyer for the show that I did with her and Jack Skelly and Gabe Hart, and she was unable to make it. But yeah, it's just uh just so awful. But not to bring the mood down here, but um but I remember eavesdropping upon her when I was eavesdropping upon Misery Loves Company, and yeah, I know she seemed to have such an impact. So yeah, brilliant writer too. But yeah, so I'm Kim Vodka. I have books that I don't relate to anymore that I've written. The one that perhaps maybe one person here knows is The Elvis Machine. I don't know if this is backwards for you, but um, The Elvis Machine. This is my book from Clash Books. And then slightly more recently, I have Dear Tad, which is by a publisher that has already gone under. So
They got Stewart Buck.
We're just gonna not mention them. And then I have A Dirty Story As You Like It, which is a pocket erotica book. It's kind of like in the style of Choose Your Own Adventure. And yeah, I only really relate to any of the stuff that I've done up to this point insofar as how it helps me understand myself. I've been kind of taking a long break in a sort of cocoon womb tomb of myself, trying to figure out, well, first of all, if I even like to do any of this shit anymore, if I even fucking like any of this shit at all.
Sorry to interrupt, but big fucking mood. I don't know if I think it was before we started, I was talking a little bit about like how bad my writer's block has been for the last year. And I hear exactly what you're saying. Like it's like it's not just like, oh, I sit down and I can't write. There's something like existential about it, right? There's this sense of like, why? Why the fuck am I doing this? What's the value in this? Anyway, yeah.
It's like, what do you really have to say? Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm gonna be 37 and I've been in this business game, since I was like 18, 19 years old. So
I'm
like
39.
I'm gonna be 37 this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
No,
it's
it's a perfect time for a kind of midlife crisis, isn't it?
yeah, and it's been going fucking swimming. Like my midlife crisis has been the best thing that's ever happened to me, really. But so I'm gonna read I'm gonna read stuff that is unpublished and pretty new and different. I mean, not that many of you will even have anything to compare it to, because this might be the first time you're ever hearing anything from me at all. But I think it's different to the point of seeming like someone else wrote it. It's just such a transformation that's happening. The theme of all of it, and kind of this larger project I've been working on, which is going to take fucking forever, it might just never be done. It might take the rest of my life, but I'm calling it a wholesome book of the sacred profane. And I sort of am seeing it as a religious text because I'm egotistical enough to see it that way. Um, and I mean, we're living in a time like the occult hasn't seen this much of a resurgence since Sir Isaac Newton was the last of the magicians. And yeah, so I'm kind of thinking of these pieces right here. I chose a few fairly short ones as like esoteric erotica or like spiritual sex poems. And I've been reading a lot about like sacred whores and temples of sacred women that may or may not have even existed. And I don't frankly care whether or not they existed, because I think it's important to imagine that they existed and talk about the power of the human imagination and just how inspiring it can be when you start like going into like all of these sort of musings about matriarchal religion and, you know, gynocratic societies that may or may not have existed. But, you know, anyway, just a little background there. So the first piece is called The Field of Interdivine Fucking. Fucking the hole in the planchette. Let the dick inside be your guide. Look, ma, no hands! To the automatic message. Map of the psyche shot full of holes like the Star-Spangled Banner. The dick inside leaves no hole unwormed. A pollination party where you come as your madness and leave as your numinous third. We threw a party for the gods, and all the gods came. Everyone gets a turn in my big opening. Gaping Sheila not Giggy to spelunk for insemination. Inaugurating the pleasure dome of self-love for regeneration. All right, so this next piece is called Flower Crown, and it's inspired by the movie Midsommar, which maybe there are some fans of that movie here. Maybe there are some people who absolutely abhor it. Seems to be a fairly divisive movie. All right. If you want to be my lover, you got to go from one situation room to another. We got a whole situation room about fucking. The high priestess conducts the interrogation. If you want to go digging around in my nectary for sweetmeats with no date of expiry, you got to be an ideal astrological match and receive approval from the village elders. Taking me up on my Pan's license when my lips would go red. On a bed of evening primrose and morning glory in the house of the creatrix, patron deity of erotic love, where when I come, we all come. You pin me down by the blue wings of the still crystallizing psyche. I reach out for a hand, the hand of Inanna, one of 12 singing chorals and spirit songs. She takes my hand and sings into my eyes a solo, an aria to help me live through this. Shallow, vapid penetration. My first time. A kindly crone grabs your ass, gives your thrust substance, pushes you deeper into me, the better to achieve ecstatic triplicity. You don't finish until I do. You don't finish until the monstrous feminine rises and the holy whore, like Mother Suspiriorum, wakes. We all moan primitively, pleasurably in unison, thick as a brood of baby demonesses, broken hymen like bloody mud, an empathy of climatic vocalizations, incantation, prayer, act of resistance. My lips would go permanently red. If you want to be my lover, you got to understand that the Sheila na gig is more grotesque than ass clowns. That in whoring, there is sexual purity, deeper pleasure, like a narcotic dependence without the narcotic or the dependence. Let me appeal to the prurient interest and dress in such a way that my body is utterly imperceptible. Let me defile you spotlessly. I'll put a whole situation on that dick. Put the pieces back together. Remember. And then I just have one more that's shorter than that one. We won't be long and then we'll be gone, as Gary Newman says. And this is dedicated to Jack Skelly. who I apparently ripped off, but then he said mine's better. So this is called My Life's Work. I want to suckle a pair of great big cum cow tits. Make it 2 pairs. Make it 3 triplicities. I want to milk and be milked by a pair of leathery, frost-hardy hands. I want the black tar cum of the black hole sun. I want the liquid selenite of an Aphrodisian scallop shell. I want to fuck you in a blazing war zone in front of Martians. I want to fuck you in a flaming dumpster like the trash we are. I want to fuck you like an animal in a barnyard or the zoo. And while I'm fucking you, I want to feel like I am you. I want you to fuck me like an animal at the zoo or in a barnyard. And while you're fucking me, I want to feel like I am you. I want to feel like I am me. I want to be vortexed into an ocean of pure porn consciousness, the ocean of pure porn consciousness that is forever all around us at the source of base instinct. I want the feeling of vortices, like feelers in every aperture, feelers in my soul, heart, and brain holes. I want a lot of nonsense, erotic, grotesque nonsense, nonsense, the divinest sense, always. I want it the way it feels in my sexual fantasies, in which my head is a camera, in which I am always the gonzo, in which I am everyone pictured and not pictured. I want you to pop that pussy, Justine Bieber, and I want you to show me your pussy, Michael Douglas. I want to internalize something other than misogyny. I want to externalize the dick inside and sodomize Bobby Peru in a urinal stall and force him to return the favor. I want super sex that feels like being engulfed in waves and drowned in flames and crucified and hanged and suicide bombed and waterboarded. I want the golden showers of Zeus, disguised as the celestial cum cow, and the water sports of Vladimir Putin, disguised as just a regular cum cow. I want nothing. The John Cage nothing. The Nicolas Cage nothing. The nothing that is a pleasure.
Kim, these were fucking wonderful. Man, I really love what you're doing here because you like avoid a lot of the like not mistakes, but like cliches of poems about sexuality, right? Like instead, like these are almost the polar opposite of what those poems usually are, right? Because there's nothing trite or cute or overly cutesy or overly like obsessed with like beauty and intimacy about these poems. Instead, you're at the like the opposite fucking poles at the same time, which is to say that these poems are fucking mythic, right? On the one hand, they are fully entrenched in like history and spirituality and folklore and all of that shit while simultaneously being like hilariously visceral and nasty, right? And it the fact that you're able to thread that needle the way that you do, the fact that these are not simply like nasty sex poems, and they're not simply like poems about sex as a cute abstraction, but instead they're both at once in a way that elevates both attempts at the form. I think it's really effective. I think it's tremendously effective and tremendously funny too, right? Like these aren't just profound poems. These are really funny poems with a lot of great wordplay, a lot of great crude little jokes in there. It's just they're really effective, Kim. They're wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. They're a lot of fun to be working with, and you just kind of let yourself go. And I mean, sex is funny, you know?
Right. What I mean, what else? Like, what else could it be, right? Like, because really, like, any kind of like intimacy is funny. Anything where like someone lets their guard down in any way, that's going to be inherently funny because like the stuff people are concealing is not like is going to be kind of absurd and silly to look at. And the fact that you don't lose sight of that, I think, is it really speaks to like the effectiveness of these poems, right?
Yeah, and I mean, intimacy is like embarrassing too. So there's like that type of laughter and the laughter of like knowing you're making yourself vulnerable and, you know, self-consciousness. And but even when you get past that, the laughter of like seeing your soul in another person potentially, you know.
Yeah. And like the profundity of it too, and the fact that you're able to keep both of those in the poems without like effacing one or the other, I think is great. Well, thank you, Kim. Those were wonderful. And you would have been closing out the night, but MD snuck in, and now MD is going to be at the end. Although I think it's kind of a shame that you weren't closing the night because there was a kind of perfect bookend there between your poems and Bizarre's poems. Like there's a sort of a like continuity there. But MD,
Wait, did Keith read though yet? Did I miss it?
Keith, I don't think Keith is reading tonight.
Oh, he's just here.
He's just Keith. Keith is always here. He read last week though. You missed
He's
that.
not just here. I'm just saying, I'm sorry. I was looking forward to a Keith reading, especially ahead of when I live on his property in Florida at some point. But
Well, maybe next time, Josh.
yes,
All right,
thanks, Rory.
MD, the floor is yours.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Perfectly.
That
Okay,
is so
cool.
clean.
Okay, I'm trying these like weird like $5 headphones I got, so sorry for coming in and swooping the last spot. I always get into these readings like kind of unplanned and unexpected, and I'm always in them super late, and usually when I ask it's like already too late and it's already like the hangout time, but I happen to get in time, so but yeah, I'm gonna just read this new little short fiction piece. It's like like a little over 900 words. If you're like, yeah, I mean, I doubt anyone in here is, but if anyone's familiar with like any of my published like stories online, there's some like recurring character names and like people names in this. So maybe you'll catch those and like think of, I don't know, other stories. But this one's called In a Car While Cow Stuck in Field. My friend Andrew texts me to ask what I'm up to. I tell him the truth, that I'm arriving home from the park with my daughter and putting her down for a nap. I don't reveal that my mother is in town and can keep an eye on my daughter as she naps. He asks if I've eaten lunch yet, and I say, no, I'm not hungry. We joke that food is so dank and how that kind of sucks. I tell him I hate eating and how I won $100 earlier at the consignment shop by picking a random plastic egg out of a basket. He asks if I'm going to spend it all on food. I jokingly say yes, I'm going to buy 30 burgers. 5 minutes later, he's outside of my house and we drive to get burgers. I agreed to get burgers to tell him about this dream I'd had earlier in the week. I'm sitting there watching Andrew eat a burger, and this is what I tell him. We were on our way out of town, but for some reason have to pick up this very large party poodle from an apartment or doggy daycare or something like that, I'm not sure. We, being C, T, and me, pull to the curb in front of the place and are trying to finish this Wordle-like game on T's phone that we were all sort of verbally playing together. C swore he knew the answer, but T and I didn't believe him and tapped the screen to receive a hint. C seemed pissed and immediately got out of the car and slammed the door. I looked at T and said, damn, he's pissed we chose the hint. T said, no, I think he's mad at me from something that happened earlier in the week. The hint was a photo of my cousin Theo as a baby wearing a shirt that said Elon, North Carolina on it. The accompanying text said, "The town where your cousin was born." I told T my cousin wasn't born in North Carolina as far as I knew, and that's a weird hint. It felt too personal. We shrugged as T typed in ELONNC, and the phone chimed to notify us that we'd gotten it correct. We looked up and out of the window just in time to see C descending the hill with this large unknown dog. The dog wriggled out of its collar and darts into the street for the park on the other side. C gave us a cold stare, making no attempt whatsoever to chase the dog. I mean, Andrew, it seemed like he'd done it on purpose. Andrew nods. So T and I jumped out of the car in pursuit of this big-ass dog. The dog is white with big black patches like a cow. We cartoonishly screeched to a halt at the edge of a pond in the middle of this park that the dogs jumped into. T complains that the dog will be too dirty to get back in the car. As we're watching this dog paddle around the pond, we notice the water is crystal clear. Instead of your typical mulm, the entire bottom of the pond is covered in overlapping Turkish rugs. Andrew asks, "What is mulm?" Andrew, mulm is that murky, visible bottom of the pond where you assume the soft, mushy earth is, but really you don't know. I mean, we don't ever truly know what's at the bottom of a body of water. Andrew nods. Out of nowhere, a lady jumps into the pond after the dog and is swimming around with so much force that I notice her feet are together. You know, she's swimming like this. I plank my body and wiggle in my chair. Andrew says, "Oh, like a mermaid." Yeah, I guess, kind of like a mermaid, but I don't see any sort of fin, just regular human feet. She effortlessly retrieves and tosses the large dog out of the pond, and it does that full body shake dogs do when they're wet. The dog is bone dry and spotless clean. The swimming lady asks if I'll help her get out of the pond, and I say, of course. She makes her first attempt at leaping out, but fails and splashes back into the crystal clear water. She swims further away so as to gain more speed before her leap. Andrew, I mean, she is swimming so fast and smooth. She looks like a dolphin or something. Her entire body emerges, and I catch her warm, wet hand. She looks me in the eyes as if to say thank you with no words. I look at her feet, and they are normal. C finally gets to us in the park, us being the lady, the dog, T, and I. C and T start bickering. C says that he's pissed we wouldn't listen to him and took the hint anyway. T says, "Well, what did you think the answer was?" In these exact words, C says, "It's devour," as in to devour a kid from the Canadian ghetto. T and I both say, "What does that even mean?" The answer was Elon, North Carolina. Andrew says, "Damn, that's a fucking weird dream." I nod. Yeah, but like, what does it mean? Do all dreams have meaning? I can tell Andrew doesn't know what to say, so he takes a big, messy bite of his burger. I'm watching him chew and can see various juices where his lips meet and in the corners of his mouth. I break the silence. "How's the cow? I mean, burger."
That was beautiful, man. I love that story. I love fiction about dreams anyway. Like anything that like gets deep within the human subconscious mind is fascinating to me. And I love this dream. I love the way that it has that sense of being simultaneously absurd and profound that all dreams have, all the best dreams have. Like that sense of like you're on the cusp of meaning. You're on the cusp of some kind of like profound realization of reality, it feels. I love the imagery of the dream. I love the woman who's like a mermaid, not like a mermaid in the way that she's swimming, the dog, and I love more than anything else the like hilarious absurdity of this faux Wordle game where the like the clue is like a picture of your cousin. That's such perfect dream imagery right there. And more than that, I love the way it's contained within this framing narrative that actually does seem to lend meaning and relevance to the dream itself. Like the fact that it ends with him eating the burger, and there's a parallel between the burger and the devour comment earlier, and also the dog between the burger and the cow and the dog that looked like the cow. Like there's this sense of like the threads from the subconscious entering the real world. And it's that same thing of like meaning being in your mouth. Like you like you can just about taste meaning, but can't quite get there. And it's beautifully written, man. It's a wonderful piece.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love like popping in here and reading something because I always love like your thoughts on stuff. It's like, yeah, it's just good. It's good to hear. And then it's also like good to just hear like because I'm always like writing little short fictions. Like I mostly write poetry, but I'm always writing little short fictions. And it's always nice to like get an idea of like what's kind of working and what's like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
But
man.
the dream was like, yeah, it was so seemed so like pointless and bizarro,
And yet,
but it was so like vivid that
yeah,
when I woke up from it, I like immediately kind of like took some notes on it.
yeah, absolutely.
One of like the weirdest parts of the dream,
Right.
or just I don't know, was really weird to me, was like this like pond or whatever it was, like in the middle of this park. Just like the whole bottom of it was just covered in like Turkish rugs.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, what? Like who lined the whole bottom of this pond with Turkish rugs?
Right. All right, man.
But
Well,
yeah, thank you.
yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. And we're going to end it there. As usual, I'm going to keep the Zoom room open for people who want to hang out afterwards and discuss stuff. But that's it for the reading. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, this has been Misery Loves Company. We do this every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. If you'd like to come and join us, we tweet out the link from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism, all one word, right before we begin. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who read. Thank you to Bizarre. Thank you to Josh. Thank you to TBC. Thank you to Brandon. Thank you to Rudy. Thank you to Colton. Thank you to Kim. And finally, thank you to MD. That's it, guys. Have a good night here. Okay, bye.